Christopher Nolan didn't realize back then that it was a trick he pulled on himself. The playing card that police officer James Gordon reveals at the end of Batman Begins has a teaser for the character Joker. It was just intended as a tingle of possibility to send audience home with no more than that. Christopher Nolan didn't want to make a sequel to Batman Begins and dive into superheroes franchise bandwagon. He just wanted to move on to his personal project that was Prestige, a movie about magic and obsession. During the pre-production of Prestige, the creative worms begin to squirm in his head. He plays with the ideas about what will be the condition of Gotham after the appearance of Batman in the Batman Begins. That very existence of Batman provoked fear in criminals as well as inspired them to take law in their own hand. Paradoxical concept was becoming inevitable. He was going to make an original sequel. He went to Warner Bros. And said, "Yo, I need 4 years and full creative control if I am going to do the sequel." Enter David Esquire, a co-writer and producer. They discussed about the movie plot for 3 months. As Christopher went back to continue working on his movie Prestige, his brother Jonathan Nolan wrote the script. As it went into production, these two geniuses were still refining the script, trying to compress a dizzying array of subplots and action sequences into a satisfying movie. They named it The Dark Knight, removing the word Batman from the title as it would have sounded cartoonish, and Christopher wanted to distance this movie from its prequel. Co-writer David Esquire never found the previous Jokers in the movie scary. He wanted his Joker to be scary and thematically diabolical. So basically he wanted to make the characters dark and real. For the casting of Joker, Nolan had only one person in mind, Heath Ledger. Dim had met when Heath Ledger had come in for an informal chat about playing Batman in the original film. But he dropped out since he found the superhero films to be stupid. Guess he was a Martin Scorsese fan after all. But weirdly enough, his opinion about superhero genre impressed Christopher Nolan, which led him into again meet Heath Ledger, where he showed Ledger Dark Knight script. And voila, Heath Ledger was determined to play the Joker. Casting early in the process, Heath Ledger took the opportunity to dig deep and prepare himself to play the character. Locking himself away in a London hotel, he experimented with voice mannerisms, keeping written log of things Joker might find funny, like AIDS and landmines. For body language, he watched Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton. He was after all playing a clown. For their part, Nolan's dived into comic book history. One of the major influences for the movie was works of Berlin director of silent era Fritz Lang, especially The Testament of Dr. Mabuse about a citywide intrigues of a hypnotic villain, which Christopher Nolan forced his brother to watch when they were young. The story would ripple out from opening scene, a stunning IMAX style high sequence. The Joker arrives in Gotham unannounced, perhaps have been there all along. The hunch anarchist ready to rob a bank. When we get a first look at him, he's a horror even for the Joker. We realize he has no origin story. Nolan had seen how iconic villains like Hannibal Lecter and Darth Vader had been diminished because loss of mystery aspects surrounding them. He was as director accepted like Anton Chigurh's in No Country for Old Men, a killer not only without remorse but without explanation. With the whiplash energy of Fight Club's Tyler Durden. Yet Nolan never saw him as a villain. His only amusement comes from tearing down the structure surrounding him. Another pull for Nolan was a chance to redefine Gotham as counterpoint to destructiveness of Joker. He cut away any traces of first film's neo-Gothic romanticism to shoot almost entirely in Chicago. There are no Gotham set, only a few CGI-assisted wide shots. This was reality. The interiors like Batcave and Wayne Manor were replaced with minimalist mice, Kender Rohe bedrooms and slick glass walk penthouses. Nolan was removing the comic from comic book. He wanted the city to have weight, breadth, and depth. During the 7-month, $185 million shoot, the only escape valve from the prison of Gotham came in brief visit to urban heights of Hong Kong, China, to snatch a corrupt banker. Nolan shoots from the high building with Christian Bale in his batsuit, standing on the edge of building, oblivious to the fact that he's not Tom Cruise. Still 6 months from the release, the film was overshadowed by tragedy when Heath Ledger died from overdose of prescription drugs in his New York City apartment on 22nd January 2008. Nolan found himself suddenly burdened with massive sense of responsibility to do right by his performance. The film got released where audience swept to the theaters to partake of the darkness as it opened to staggering $158 million on its first weekend, going on to break the billion mark at the global box office and become the second biggest film of all time, cementing Dark Knight as the most acclaimed film and benchmark for superhero filmmaking.
If you like this video, you should check out my other video about how Martin Scorsese made Taxi Driver.